Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. It is very important, the show that we're going to have today, and it has to do with what happened at Fox News, Bernie Sanders doing his thing, and a lot of people are going to sit down and say, well, why is that? What's the big deal about what you're going to talk about now? Well, this is very important because I think there is an undercurrent there that we need to discuss. There is something that we have to look at, exactly what happened out there, that I want to take care of. As I queue up some of these things here, I want you to make sure to go ahead and please share the program. Why do we want this program shared? Because these are important issues we need to cover, and many times what you find is these are the issues not covered on mainstream media. We are that interface, my brothers and sisters. We are the interface for that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have a great show. We're going to talk about what Bernie did, and he kind of segued into, or whether what he did sort of segue into some blogs that I've written this week, and actually a blog that pretty much blew it pretty, that did pretty well at the country's the largest progressive blog website in the world. That is Daily Kos. I wrote an article earlier this week titled that was encouraging people to go ahead and speak to folks on the right. It pretty much mimicked the discussion. I kind of cued it off of a discussion that I had with a person at a gym, etc., etc., etc. But anyhow, we're going to start. The program is titled, "The Real Reason I Think DNC Doesn't Want Debates on Fox News." Okay? And then the subtitle of the show is, "Why Would the DNC Not Want to Have the Democratic Primary Debates on Fox News? I think the real answers are more dubious than most would believe. And I think it is Bernie. But it's not only Fox News that doesn't want, or rather, it's not only the DNC, in my humble opinion, that wouldn't want to have Bernie on Fox News, giving him the forum that they gave him today. I think these guys are likely to realize that that was the biggest mistake they made. And in the blog of the week, I'm going to show you why it is that even the president thinks that. But anyhow, so that's the subtitle. Why would the DNC not want to have Democratic primary debates on Fox News? I think the real answers are more dubious than most would believe. And it is it is Bernie Sanders that I think is the issue there. I continue to wonder why the DNC is anathema to having Democratic candidates on Fox News. For a while, I bought into their rationale, but I do know more. To many, the reason is timidity. To many others, it is not getting a fair shake. But I do not believe either of those is valid, and I will explain in the blog of the week. And unfortunately, I'm not done writing the blog of the week, but that doesn't matter because it's all here that I need to get this out of. But that's not the issue at all. The issue is things are coming home to roost. I just want, we're going to go into the blog of the week and discuss this further. But before we do that, what I really want to do is I want to get into something about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and a Republican congressman. I want to touch on that beforehand. But I just want to leave you with a teaser, okay? I want to leave you with a little teaser here. Think about this. we spoke several times right after the 2016 election that a lot of Bernie Sanders vote, not a lot, a small amount of Bernie Sanders voters kind of threw their hands up in the air and voted for Donald Trump, and we just couldn't. To some of us, it was a crazy thing to do. For me, it was a crazy thing to do. A lot of people have told me, no, it's not. It wasn't all that crazy. I still think it was a crazy thing to do. I voted after being a delegate, a national delegate for Bernie Sanders. I voted the interest, in my opinion, of the American people, and I voted for Hillary Clinton. And I think we're paying a big price. The environment is paying a big price. Many things we're paying a big price in many areas. Look, Hillary Clinton would not have been any panacea, and I would have been fighting Hillary Clinton and a whole lot of her neoliberal stances, okay? I would have been doing that. But it would have been a better fight than the fight we're having now with Donald Trump as president, with him destroying our ecosystem, with him destroying a lot of international relations that shouldn't be destroyed, and with him fomenting a lot of international relationships that shouldn't be. So, I mean, there are a lot of lefties that are against me when I say this, but the reality is I do not regret my vote for Hillary Clinton. I definitely want or would have wanted a Bernie Sanders in there for the policies. Now, what we saw on Fox News, in my humble opinion, was impressive. And I think it's more impressive than the actions that you saw. It showed, we'll talk about that later. But I want to change subject a bit, and I want you to stick with me. I really want you to stick with me here, because I need to change the subject on one issue. And the subject issue that we need to change on is specifically Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and then we're going to go back to the Fox News and Bernie Sanders thing. But I need you to stay here with me. If you're here with me also, I want to remind you before I get to that video that I'm about to show right now that this is a progressive show that needs your support. So please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, patreon.com/politicsdoneright, and support us. We have a great subscription base, very inexpensive, to keep us on air. And you read everything that every book that I write will be online for you to see. Right now we have As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And you also have How to Make America Utopia that is online. And so please go ahead and go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. I'm done with that. I'm starting to do this 3 times, very short in the program. Anyhow, folks, here's what we want. I want you to listen to this interview with a Republican congressman on a liberal talk show. And then we'll take it from there.
Follow up on Congressman Andy Barr from here in Lexington. He gave an invitation to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to visit Kentucky and visit a coal mine. But now Barr has put a stipulation and says he will not invite her unless she first apologizes to Texas Representative Dan Crenshaw. The congressman told the former Navy SEAL that he should focus on domestic terrorism after he slammed a Minnesota lawmaker who said something about 9/11, saying that some people did something, back and forth. Barr says Ocasio-Cortez is an example of the lack of civility in Washington. Now, leaving aside the woman's comments, Omar and Crenshaw, is it really, Congressman, this just a way for Andy Barr not have to bring Cortez to Kentucky?
Well, I like Andy, and I think his heart's in the right place. He's a defender of coal and really wants to try to bring people in that are against coal. But I don't see any upside to bringing Ocasio-Cortez in. I think.
Wait, why not? I mean, okay, so here's, as a progressive in Kentucky, one of the things when I talk to people in New York City and places like that, they don't even really get coal miners. They don't realize that coal miners have been hurt by the ending of coal. Isn't it possible that you bring that woman here and she sees it and maybe she looks at it differently?
It's possible, but not likely. I think she's pretty set in her ways. I think she's very intelligent. I think a lot of Republicans are making a mistake picking on her. The other 2 freshman female legislators that are in the news a lot, Iliad and Omar, I think that's fair game for Republicans to pick on. But Ocasio-Cortez has a movement of millennials that follow her. Ocasio-Cortez is a lot more prepared when she comes to committee meetings, for example.
You said that to me that she's really smart.
She is smart, and I think that we need to be very prepared when we debate her on issues that we're having a hard time with. You know, there's still a future for coal, but we need to make sure that we're debating the right people on that issue.
Follow up on Congressman.
Okay, now, in effect, what is he saying? In effect, he's saying Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. First of all, Congressman Barr thought he was doing something slick, right? He was going to bring this little young lady from New York, this amateur from New York. He was going to bring her and take her to Kentucky to a coal mine, and likely he was going to set her up and have her sitting down around a whole lot of coal miners, and these coal miners were going to give them a piece of their minds as far as why is she so against coal, and why is this Green New Deal going to do all these things to hurt them, and etc., etc., etc. But what they are starting to realize is that this woman is no joke. And this is something that I've been saying all along. I write a whole lot about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And what I've been writing in blogs all along is that she's a very smart woman. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is very smart. And not only is she smart, but she is always prepared. Every congressperson in every one of the meetings would tell you that she comes to those meetings prepared. She comes prepared. She knows her material. And if you see her in when she's on stage or wherever, you ask her a question. She came here to Austin, Texas. They asked her questions. She is always on point, and she knows the material. She is not just a front. She knows the material. This woman is up to speed with the material, up and above her age. So now the Republicans are starting to realize that. And they're saying, oh, my God, we don't want to have her be in these meetings with us when she's putting her point of view across, because it turns out people then like it. People then realize, oh, my God, that is right. Think about Ocasio-Cortez going, and we're coming back to the Bernie Sanders on Fox News to talk about that in a minute. But think about what Alexandria Cortez is doing. Alexandria Cortez may make the mistake, or rather, this congressman would have made the mistake, brought Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to his estate into Kentucky, and what she would have done is she would have shown that she cared more about those coal miners than their own congressperson. Their congressperson cared more about the person who owns the coal mine, who was then allowed to dump those coal ashes into streams, who was allowed to strip mine, who were allowed to do all these things that hurt these people's standard of living, who hurt these people's health care. And this congressman, in as much as they're passing laws to allow for more dirty streams, for more dirty air, what are the results of those things? Bad health, poor health. And at the same time, they don't want to cover pre-existing conditions. At the same time, they don't want to cover Medicare for all. So just imagine the two of them doing a press conference after she visits a mine. Let's assume Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Congressman Barr. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman Barr. Mr. Barr, Congressman Barr, you brought her into your state. What do you think? Well, I wanted her to see why we need to have coal, because she can see the workers. There are a lot of workers that need employment, and they need a good salary. And Alexandria Cortez comes back and say, yes, but you know, it is great. But the Green New Deal that we're trying to do, what it will do is all these coal miners that are working underground, getting their lungs filled with black lung, our policies has several features that would help them immediately. One, we are doing green energy, which means we are going to build a factory in your neighborhood. Your factory will pay more than what the coal miners are making underground. And you know what we want to do for them? All the black lung disease that they would get underground, we want to give them the ability to get health care that doesn't broke them, that don't cause them to go bankrupt. Now think about that now. Here you have she will immediately go into his district and show that she cares more about his constituents than he does. And that is why you heard the congressman on this on the show that I just played for you said something very important. Oh no, we don't think it would serve the district. We don't know what it serves to bring Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez into that Kentucky district. And the reason why is because it would show that her policies are more in line, would more support their constituents than the others. So let's be real. That is what it is all about. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, very smart, and not only smart, but now the Republicans are starting to realize that they just may have made a mistake in actually attempting to demonize her, because as they demonize her, she actually shows her prowess, which right now are millennials, and she shows that she's not just a face. She's not just the face of an activist. This is one activist that knows the material, and that is the most dangerous activist there is. One who's not just carrying banners, one who knows the material. That's the most dangerous activist. But guys, you know what time it is. It's time for the what again? It's time for the blog of the week. So I start that by saying, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Está bien, está bien, está bien, está bien. No terminé el blog. I didn't finish writing the blog because, again, like you know, I just ran out of time as I sat in Starbucks writing this. So what I'll do is I'll read what I've written so far, and then I'll go into sort of the rest that I wanted to talk about on Bernie Sanders. So anyhow, the title of the blog of the week is Bernie Sanders Show Why Neither the GOP nor the DNC likely wants Democratic debates on Fox News. And it's clear now, after you saw what Bernie did, why it is likely they don't want it, and why now you also see other Democrats wanting to go on that platform. I don't know if they will fare as well as Bernie Sanders did, because most of these guys being wards of, and I hate to put it this way, but still, I've got to say it about some of my folks that are running for the Democratic nomination. Some of them remain wards of the plutocracy. They remain folks that have to watch what they say about drugs. They have to watch what they say about Medicare for all in the way they present it. They have to look like they're simply appeasing the left, but not given the answers that are going to say they're definitely going to do it, and that is what's going on right now. But anyhow, title is so. Bernie Sanders shows why neither the GOP nor the DNC likely wants Democratic debates on Fox News. Elections are strategic. Parties want to maintain control, and they place their tentacles everywhere. They attempt to command certain behaviors by candidates explicitly and implicitly. Bernie Sanders' appearance on Fox News was epic for several reasons. Sanders defied the spirit of the Democratic Party leadership and appeared on Fox News. Many probably believed he was on a fool's errand, but that is not what happened. On issues that really matter, the majority of the audience was decidedly listening and on his side. Okay, let me stop right there, because the theory is, oh yeah, but it had a whole lot of Bernie supporters in there. It probably had a whole lot of Democrats and so forth. But it also had a lot of conservatives and all these kinds of folks in there as well, because this, after all, was a Fox News chosen set of people. So you know that. Fox News don't make a whole lot of mistakes when it comes to choosing audiences, etc. But what they didn't count on, you see, Bernie is this special kind of guy, right? You're gonna first of all, you either love the guy or you hate the guy. Generally, there's nowhere in the middle, right? And I understand that a whole lot of my Hillary Clinton fans hate the guy. I get it. But a whole lot of people love him, and they love him not because they love Bernie Sanders. In my case, I love the guy's policies. I simply love the policy, most of the policies except guns, of course. So anyhow. Most importantly, Bernie Sanders went into the foxhole and was unabashedly progressive, he also necessarily scolded the host. He went back and forth with them and did not allow them to get away with false equivalencies or fallacies. So how do we know that Bernie Sanders was successful at Fox News? First of all, so far this year, it is the most watched town hall bar none, whether on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, anywhere. It had the largest audience bar none, Bernie Sanders did on Fox News. Okay? So it got the attention of the president. So Politico had this little story, and I want to read a portion of the thing that Politico put out there. They said, President Donald Trump took a second whack at Fox News on Tuesday, again expressing frustration that his favored network offered a platform for Senator Bernie Sanders to connect with 2020 voters. In other words, the president is pissed. He didn't want his voters to get a chance to listen to Bernie. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Without offering evidence, Trump on Tuesday night accused Fox News of blocking his supporters from attending the previous night's town hall with Sanders. Many Trump fans and signs were outside of the Fox News studio last night in the now thriving, thank you, Mr. President, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, for the interview with crazy Bernie Sanders. Trump wrote in a tweet, big complaints about not being let in stuffed with Bernie supporters. What's with Fox News? Come on, do you really think Fox News is going to... There you go. Do you think, sorry about that, do you think Fox News is going to stuff? Do you think Fox News is going to stuff an audience? This is Fox News, who completely and continue to be combative with Bernie Sanders. Do you think they are really going to bring a Bernie Sanders favorable crowd, a majority crowd? No, they didn't. They brought a crowd. Anyhow, before the event, however, Fox News anchor and town hall host Martha McCallum spoke with the Morning Call, that's a conservative rag, about the event, including how the audience was picked. The Pennsylvania paper reported Fox reached out to various political and local groups in the area and mined requests to attend after it publicly announced the event. Fox said hundreds of people were on the waiting list. Now, the audience included Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, right-wingers, Bernie-crats. It included all of these folks, okay? The thing about it is this. We understand and we know what Fox audiences generally look like and how they normally behave. And the fact that when Bernie Sanders started to put out his factoids, and not factoids but real facts, you didn't hear any of them getting up and screaming, "You socialists," or anything like that. And there's a reason why. And it all started with the way he started the town hall and the way he approached it. What I did is I didn't watch the town hall live as it was occurring. I decided to wait a while. Actually, I was pretty busy. But I decided to wait a while. And then I went ahead and watched the entire thing on Fox News. And what I found is, we always talk about Democrats not having the guts, Democrats being timid, Democrats not fighting back. My God. Let me tell you something, folk. If you have not seen the entire Bernie Sanders the entire Bernie Sanders town hall, it is imperative that you do. Because Bernie Sanders went in there knowing that he went into the Fox den, and he went in for a fight. And he even had Bear saying to him, are we going to continue, are you going to be he pretty much said, are you going to be on the attack the entire debate or the entire town hall? And Bernie finally said, no, I won't be. But what Bernie didn't allow them to do is get around or he didn't allow them to take the lead. He never allowed them to take the narrative. He continued the narrative. Even the questions that he got that were loaded, he took the narrative. So, what are these questions? And then I'm going to go to the website and get some of your notes beforehand. But what I want to do before I do that is I want to kind of go through some of the items that he touched on, because the major thing people would think as well, he probably just went ahead and spoke Medicare for all. No, he did not. He spoke everything. But what I love that he did is for once, somebody went up there and spoke about Medicare for all in a sensible manner. And not only that, here's the thing, including and a lot of Democrats come back with this. There are Democrats who are hard bent on getting Medicare for all passed. And then there are those who are wavering. Those who are saying, oh, well, we can't quite do it. And those Democrats who are saying we can't quite do it are selling a fallacy in order to protect the insurance companies. And that fallacy is metastasizing in the minds of many other Democrats, meaning Democratic voters. And what Bernie Sanders did out there is lay out the reality. One of the first ones that had to be tackled is when he was asked, hey, you are from good old liberal Vermont. Vermont tried to pass that Medicare for all bill, and even Vermont in a liberal state couldn't do it. Bernie did not miss a beat. The governor, a Democratic governor, didn't know what the hell he was doing, pretty much is what Bernie said. And then he said, and there was a whole lot of internal dynamics in Vermont that you guys simply don't know about. But here is the kicker. And this is something that I've written about. This is something that I've done a whole lot of blogs about, where the Democrats continue to run away from telling Americans the truth as if Americans are stupid. Americans are not. Tell them the truth. Tell them how this stuff is going to work. And then it all worked. And that is what the audience respected. Barr wanted to get him on the defensive, doesn't that? Or I don't remember if it was Barr or Martha. Wanted to get him on the defensive. But that's going to raise people's taxes. He didn't say, maybe, but he said, yeah, it is. It is going to raise your tax. Do you want Medicare for all? Do you want good health care? It's going to raise your tax. But at the end of the day, you're going to have more money in your pocket. And then he goes ahead and he said, but no premiums. Did you tell them that? But no premiums. So he was not running away from the questions. Bernie was not running away from the questions. He answered them head on. And the audience respected that. And you could see in that audience when they panned the cameras, you know who were the Republicans there. The Republicans were the ones doing the most listening. And you know how you know that? Because the Berniacs already know his policies. Those who have been with Bernie for a long time know his policies, okay? So they were there, some of them shouting, and doing all these other things. Bernie? Shh. These Republicans, I'm telling you, they were attentive. When the question was brought up, first of all, how many of you have private insurance? Most people raised their hands. Most of us have private insurance. How many of you would switch your... but before that now, Barr says to him, hey, how can you say this? A lot of these people are going to lose, they're going to lose their private insurance. They're going to have to change, suppose they like their doctors or whatever. Bernie went and gave the most prescient answer. And again, why can't Democrats in general do this? He said, people change jobs every year. Throughout the year, people change jobs. Every year, your company comes and they offer you different insurance plans. Every year. So he's like, why are you bringing up, you're going to lose your private health insurance as some sort of a given? Every year, people... At the end of the year, people are like this with their fingers crossed. I wonder what kind of policy now is our company going to have? How much more are they going to take away from my health care when the company renews its policy with either the same insurance company or another insurance company? And how many doctors are not going to be on the new plan? That is the modus operandi as it is right now. That is what's happening right now. So when you hear Democrats talk about Americans are not going to want to lose their private policies, or Republicans or anybody say that, they're talking hogwash. Americans may not want to lose their, Americans may think they don't want to lose their policies, but the corporations are telling them they're going to. Every year they renegotiate the bills, and a lot of times, the other thing that Bernie missed one thing, and when it came to healthcare, there's one particular thing Bernie missed. And I kept on edging him on. Bernie, please say this. Bernie, please say this. Bernie, please say this. When they spoke about, and the reason I wanted Bernie to say this is because when I did a blog this morning about healthcare for all as well, and it was on Daily Kos, and one of the persons one of the commenters said, but it's going to be it's difficult. It's not as easy as you guys want it to be, because most people get their health care from their employers, and it is heavily subsidized, so they don't really see that it costs $11,000 per person, or 20, I don't remember how many thousand per person. They don't see that, and because they don't see that, when they actually see what Medicare for All is going to do for them, 28,000, thank you very much, Tom Hines, 28,000 a year. When you really see that, you start to wonder, I don't want to do Medicare. It's more expensive. But no, here's what Bernie missed. Bernie missed 2 points there. He should have said, as your insurance is subsidized by your company, as your insurance is subsidized by your company, that raise that you would have otherwise gotten, you did not get, because they use that to pay that extra cost in the insurance. So please, in your narrative, those of you that are pushing Medicare for All, remember to tell these folks that think that they're not paying more and more every year for health care, the raise that they're not getting, it's because it's going to health care. And if that raise that they didn't get is going to health care, what it really means, it's going into the pockets of a plutocrat. Because remember what I've always said. These people who own these private insurance companies, they want a return on their investment, and they want stock price growth. You get stock price growth and a higher return on investment by every year making a little bit more. And that little bit more isn't the cost of inflation. We're not talking inflation here. We're talking about appreciating assets. That's what these companies want. And in order to give them that, insurance companies bump your prices higher than what normal inflation would have been. And why do they do that? Because they can. And why can they do that? Because they are the ones with something called pricing power. In this country, there's a very small amount of people who have pricing power. Then there are the slaves that work, or I shouldn't call them slaves, but the wards of the plutocracy, who ensures they get paid very well and they get very good policies that ensures that those people that are making the windfall are protected. And then there is you, the person without pricing power. That's who you are. You are, as Professor Richard Wolff would say, the modern day slave. Because you have no power. They're going to charge you whatever they will for insurance so that you can stay healthy. If you can afford to stay healthy and pay them, they'll keep you as healthy as they can. If you cannot, you'll die. It's that simple. I mean, they don't quite put it that way because that wouldn't sound very humane and that wouldn't sound just right, but that's what it is. That is absolutely what it is. So therefore, what are we saying now? So we know that what occurs is these employers, and for folks who listen to the show often and who've heard this before, there are many newcomers. I mean, we get so many newcomers every single show. And a lot of them don't know this material. So bear with us as we tell some material that you've heard before and some that you haven't heard before. But anyhow, so that is what it's all about. And what Medicare for All, as Bernie is explaining, as AOC has explained, as I've explained, and many have explained, is it normalizes, and it normalizes what's occurring. It means now that the pricing power no longer belongs to insurance companies who, first of all, have no right to price and power because they don't produce a damn thing. They do not produce a damn thing. Insurance companies, health insurance companies have no real reason to exist. If they want to offer frills and all that if they want to offer caviar in your room, let them allow for you to pay for that if you want. But for normal health care, let us just have a good old Medicare for all. That is good enough for the vast majority of Americans. Now, but Bernie went quite a bit further. Bernie, as you know, released 10 years of his tax returns. And they tried to make an issue out of that. Well, Bernie, you're a millionaire. Yeah, I am. I sold a book and made some good money. Well, that means that the tax cuts that Donald Trump made really helped you out. And then, and this is where I tell you, Democrats need to learn how to address Fox News. Fox News may never have this guy back on in this format again, because here's what he did. When they looked at him and they said, "Why is it that Trump helped?" He said, "Yeah, but did you tell your audience that I voted against Trump's tax cut?" "Oh, well, we did. Did you also tell your audience that I released 10 years of tax returns, and did you keep in their minds that Donald Trump did not release any tax returns?" "Oh, well, and Trump is on this station all of the times." So while they're probing Senor Bernie about his tax returns, the Fox News audience is seeing Bernie being addressed about his taxes and wanting this presidential candidate to release his taxes, and they're seeing the dichotomy here. They're seeing the different values. So the importance of a Bernie going on to Fox and him being combative with the Fox News people is important, because it gives the Fox News viewers, remember, this is live. This isn't something where Fox News can cut out these pieces as he goes along. This is live. And that is why it is silly for the DNC to have said, don't go on Fox News to do these interviews, or don't go on Fox News for these town halls because they're going to get you. No, you can actually do exactly what Bernie did. So Bernie turned it around. You haven't asked for Trump's tax returns. "Oh, well, we are going to have Trump on." Well, hell, Trump is on all the time. Why haven't you guys said, "Trump, where are your tax returns?" We're asking Bernie about his 10 years. Where are your 10 years? Okay. Now they're saying, then they asked him about the deficit. This was a beauty. This one was a beauty. And folks, this is what I'm talking about. When you have the moral high ground and you go on Fox News, I continuously tell folks, the right-wingers are not bad people. Right-wingers are not evil people. Right-wingers are ill-informed people. And by Democrats going on Fox News in a combative manner, addressing each issues and answering each questions appropriately, what they will do is they won't work with the very deep ideologues, but they will get enough of those viewers to start asking questions. These are thinkers as well. Not because you're tunnel visioned doesn't mean that you don't think. And if you're tunnel visioned, but you are in the Fox News tunnel, and within that tunnel is reality, you get a chance to make a point. And that is exactly what Bernie did. Bernie went in there, and when they started to talk about, "Hey, Bernie, but with your Medicare for all, you are going to blow the budget to pieces." And then they show him the clock of how fast the budget is rising. And Bernie just smiled. Bernie said, "Did you ask Donald Trump, who blew the budget by $1.5 trillion, who he gave away not to his audience, not to his followers, but the top 1%, that is blowing the budget. The things we are talking about paying for it. And how are you going to pay for it? We are going to have a tax on securities. In other words, all these transactions." Let me ask you something, guys, and I want you to think about this. You talk about tax and transaction tax on Wall Street. Some of the plutocracy wants to tell you, "Oh, that is going to affect the economy. That is going to affect all that kind of stuff. They want productivity. It is crap. Let me tell you something. I sit down and watch in my Starbucks stock traders, day traders. I sit down and watch them. What they do, they sit in front of the charts, and they do a quick sell and buy, a quick sell and buy, a quick sell and buy, and whatever. They produce nothing. They're sitting down there drinking a cup of coffee and playing with these numbers on a computer screen. And we do that, brokerage firms do that throughout the country. They do nothing but play with the numbers, and depending on how those stocks go up and down, it can cause employment or unemployment around the country from people who do and produce nothing. So why not have a transactional tax? They're making money off of nada, of zero, of doing no work. So why not tax some of that money they're making for doing no work? Transaction tax. So that how do we pay for the healthcare? We have the transaction tax that raised several $100 billion a year. How else do we do it? We tax the base of, we tax wealth. People say, oh, how can you tax wealth? Folks, and I repeat this, you guys are going to hear this all the time from me. I own a car. I own my home. I say I own my home. But here's the funny thing about it, right? Every single year, I have to pay several $1,000s on my home in taxes. It's called a property tax. I own my car. Every single year, it's an asset. It's property. It's an asset. Just like the stocks you have are assets. The bonds you have are assets. Every year, whether my home appreciates or not, I pay a small tax on the current value of my home. My home goes up in price, it goes down in price. There was a big flood in Houston. All our homes in Harris County fell in price. So we paid a little less in taxes on our home. If you own $160 billion in stocks like Bezos does, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. At the time that we take the count, you pay a small tax on the worth of those assets. There's nothing magical about that. It's what the average American person is doing right now, so it should apply to the billionaires as well. And that's how we have a lot of ways to raise money. People constantly ask, how can there be income inequality the way we have it that way? Because the tax system is screwing you. They make you believe that there's something special about tax, about stocks. There's something special about bonds. There's something special that these things require different forms of taxation than the income that people make in other forms. It's not. It's not at all. We have to retrain our brains to dislodge the fallacies that's been placed in it by those who are intent on doing that, so that then you support these politicians that feed you this crap. But if we educate ourselves and if we show the symbiotic relationship between what the average middle class American has to pay and what the wealthy, what the plutocrat does not pay, it tells you something. He made another big observation right there. As you know, there are two companies that have merged. I think it was CVS and some other company that merged. And one of the CEOs that completed that merger walked away with $500 million. I repeat, $500 million. How many policies could that buy? And by the way, that isn't money he's earned. That money is your money. You paid it in premiums. You paid it in premiums. Somebody can collect all of it and then pay it out for those of us who were unlucky enough to get sick. That's what insurance is, right? You pool your money together, and out of that, since all of us are not going to be sick at the same time, you pool that money, and whoever gets sick, we have a pool of money to take care of them. That's insurance. That's what insurance, that is all insurance is. When you talk about, people talking about insurance companies are there because they have to manage risk. The only reason you have to manage risk is to make a profit, right? You have several insurance companies, they manage risk. And how do you manage risk? You manage risk by denying coverage, by not paying a bill, or by saying you have to pay a higher premium before it kicks in. And if you can't get there, you don't get the health care. So you have to remember these things. Insurance companies do nothing. And when they tell you they manage risk, they only manage risk because for them to make a profit, you must be screwed. Please remember that. I'm saying that in graphic language, but that is a definition of health insurance. Like I've continuously said, profit in health insurance is a tax. Profit on health insurance is an expense on you. On you. Because what it means is you are paying somebody to pay a bill if you get sick. And just to pay that bill if you get sick, they want to keep 20% or more. That is the private health care system. And that is the reason why so many can't afford it and why so many must stay uncovered. I have to do another quick pitch to ask you to be supporters, to be contributors, contributors to Politics Done Right. So please, we are here to do a job. We are here to really inform folks in such a manner that they understand what's going on, so that when it is time to vote people in, they will vote in the people that address their needs. And right now, those people that address their needs are progressives. If you ask all Americans what they want, and you look at what the values of progressives are, what progressives are pushing, what you find is we are pushing the issues that support morality, that support the personal economies of the average American citizen, and that improves the personal economies of the poor, the wealthy, and everybody else. But if you're listening to the news, the mainstream media, they make these policies look like pie in the sky. They tell you, come to the center. They tell Bernie, they tell Elizabeth Warren, come to the center. We can't quite do that. And then they give more support to candidates like Beto O'Rourke, Amy Klobuchar, Biden, and all these guys. They want to give more credit to these guys because they are middle of the road. They are not going to come in and say, let's do Medicare for all. Let's make sure everybody's covered because we can't afford it. They forget things like modern monetary theory. They try to make it look like it's silly. But when we're doing quantitative easing to help the wealthy, to help the banks that have failed, we did quantitative easing. That is a portion of modern monetary theory. We didn't have a problem expanding our money supply to help the banks. Why can't we expand the money supply to build the roads, to fix the bridges, and all these things? Why can't we use both modern monetary theory as well as taxing the rich appropriately? Because remember, their wealth wasn't built by them. It was built by you. You built the wealth, and it's important that we get that here. It is so important that we don't lay, and that's why I wrote this book, so that you can really understand your power. You can really understand who you are. You can really understand that things, we in this country have a tendency to glorify the wealthy, glorify those people. Like, Bill Gates has X amount of $1 billion. I love Bill Gates. Bill Gates is a nice guy. Bill Gates was a good programmer, but he wasn't the best. Bill Gates was a good capitalist. Bill Gates is one of the best capitalists in the world. Jeff Bezos is one of the best capitalists in the world. They know how to raise capital, and they know how to get other people to make the money for them. I remember there are stories of Bill Gates, that when it was time for software, there are two kinds of software developers, right? The ones who want to make money off of all the software that they produce, and the others who says, oh, this would do well in the public domain. As an example, I'm a software developer. I develop serial communications for Windows and MS-DOS. And why was I successful? I was successful in doing this because there are a lot of pieces of Windows and MS-DOS that were deficient in serial communication. That's communication between computers, etc. I wrote software that solved that problem. But I always did one thing. There was always a piece of that software in the public domain, right? That was like a gift to the ethos, if you will, right? So you have some, in fact, if you go and look up Willie's Computer Software Company, you can download my entire serial communication package free of charge, of course, without the source code. The source code, that is, when I do sell it, the people who want to get the full source code, well, they pay a little bit of money for it. But the idea here is, Bill Gates didn't do that. Bill Gates wanted to say, hey, you want the software, you got to pay for it, you got to license the software. So there are different avenues, right? And and this is not to put down Bill Gates, because he tries to be altruistic in a capitalist sort of way. Okay? But my thing to you all that are listening to me today is to tell you that it isn't, the capitalists aren't the ones that should be revered. You are. And that's what I try to do with my program. By the way, that's why we need your support. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. What I preach, what I tell people is we are not going to change this country until we build self-worth. And I know I'm not a sociologist, okay, I'm an engineer. But I'm an engineer that I've always been pushing social values and social ethics. We are not going, I wrote a blog piece, I should tag it somewhere, where Americans need to understand and know their worth. You must know your worth. I don't care if you're sweeping the floors, sweeping the streets. My garbage man, I remember in the days when I owned quite a bit of stocks. Not anymore, because it's all poured into political activism. I'm done. That's why I needed to please support me. I need this Politics Done Right, the entire thing supported. That is how we are going to change the whole of America. That is how we're going to put in Americans' brains that they're the ones in power. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. But what I'm trying to tell you is this. You are we have been taught in America. Oh, the billionaire, that guy, wow, he's a billionaire. How did he do that? He did it. He must have been. No. He played the capitalist game. You know what I've always hated to hear people say? Like, I make my money work for me. Your money can't work for you. Whenever somebody says, I make my money work for me, it means that they are the masters of a few people who are out there working their asses off so that this other person can sit at the pool and make the appreciation of their stocks based on the work you do for them. They don't sell it that way, but that is what's happening. When I sold software, I had pricing power. And people say, oh, okay, you can charge as much as you want, which is true. I had to be cognizant to the fact that in doing so, that price was always going to be passed along down to those who didn't have pricing power. When Boeing bought my software, at whatever price I charged them, they then charged for that plane whatever price that plane cost. And when they and eventually, the only people who had no pricing power to decide what they were going to be able to pay to use that airplane was the lowly person buying a ticket who had no control of what all these different things cost. And what I'm aiming to tell people is we all deserve to have pricing power in some form or the other. We won't have pricing power to the software person who sells the software to Boeing, who then sells the Boeing plane to another company, who then sell other things. We don't have pricing power there. But we have a big pricing power in what we call the state and taxes. That is where the pricing power of the masses exists. But for that to exist, you have to have the worth. You have to have the control. You have to know that you are in control of your government and work accordingly. And there will be a symbiotic relationship as well, because you can't tax the holy hell out of something to make things unproductive. But you can tax in such a manner that we all take advantage of the spoils the nation has to give. And that is the magic. Right now, we have a government of the plutocracy, and we have the plutocracy. So the plutocracy has the pricing power, and the government allows it. The plutocracy has the pricing power, the power of the master, and a government that says, okay, take advantage of the siblings. Develop our worth, elect the right people, folks, and we need people empowering others. We need people giving this message. What I'm doing, we need thousands doing this. But we also need your support. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. This isn't about telling people, please. No, this isn't. I tell people, this is your country. This is your government. You don't have to ask for a damn thing. You go ahead and you take it. And how do you take it? By electing the right people, and when they don't do as they should, you get them to hell out of there. And if you think this doesn't work, both on the right and the left, trust me. Bernie shows something when he went into the den. He showed that people listen. And the article that I wrote when I spoke to the Republican at the gym, I mean, I didn't turn him into a Democrat. I didn't turn him into a progressive. But I made him look at things for himself. I made him look at himself and say, wow. And I tell these folks all of the times, do not listen to me or do not tell me who you're going to vote for. When you go into that voting booth, remember the truth. And that truth is simple. That truth is, when you're in there, it's between you, your vote, and your God. Nobody sees it. Vote your interests. And as people learn that, as people feel empowered to do that, as people are deprogrammed from believing the crap that they're told, that somehow Medicare for all is unattainable, somehow base wage is basic income is unattainable, we start to prove that that isn't the case. If you just listen, if you just talk, and if you just respect those, and you give people their earring, and you go ahead and you let people know what you stand for. What you stand for. Wow, I didn't realize I talked so long. Let me see if there's anything that I can come and talk to my people real quickly. Hi, Michael Rudnin, Kathleen Morgan, Tom Hines, Lee Grant, welcome aboard. Karen McIntyre, welcome aboard. If I miss you, please forgive me. Rene Perpatua, welcome aboard. Let's see who else I have here. Let me load some more comments. Vámonos, hombre, vámonos. Estoy terminando aquí. Okay. All right, let's see. Rene Perpetua, I think that's the one down below here. So let's see. I'm going to go from the bottom up. Going through Harvard, I believe. Yeah, he quit Harvard, actually, Rene. He never finished school. Not yet, but in the works. Let's see. Gates is so one-dimensional. That many people have said that. I make my money work for me. Sounds like usury to me. Michael, that's exactly what it is, brother. That's exactly what it is. Karen, listening from California. Karen, look, love you guys everywhere of this country, man. Love it, love it, love it. I have people from California. I have people from Massachusetts. I have people from North Carolina. I have people from Kansas. I love you. I love the damn country, the whole damn country, because we together are going to make this big difference. Please share these programs, folks. I need you to share these programs wildly. And I need you to also, if you can't be one of those supporting Politics Done Right, encourage others to support Politics Done Right. We are doing a good thing. We are trying to encourage the masses to take control as they should. And we're also trying to tell the right point of view, not just the point of view that the media has been channeled into telling you, because you have so much power. You have power. We still have one person, one vote. But if they get most of our minds, it won't matter. You know, chains used to be that metal stuff that you had on your hands. You know, slavery, you know, black people went through slavery, the Indians went through a kind, and the Chinese went through sort of a indenture type servitude in the Pacific Railroad. And, you know, I get into trouble when I say this a whole lot, right? But when you had the slavery with chains, you could see it. Slavery with chains is something you can see. When you're poor, it is something you can see. But how do you know? Or it's so hard to know because you are. As economist Richard Wolff pointed out, we still have a master-slave relationship in this country. The most difficult thing is to unslave one's mind. That is the most difficult thing of them all. To take the chains off of your mind, to liberate and realize what you really can do, what you really can do. That is what Politics Done Right is all about. We want to unslave all of us together. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. And if you just want to give a contribution as well, but we would love subscriptions. We need subscriptions. We badly are in need of subscriptions. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. We are at the end of the show. You know how I end it. This is Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, and you know how I end this baby. I am out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1,